Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hopefully, you can all hear and see me okay. Thank you very much for joining us at this Your Overseas Home webinar. My name is Sebastian Bampton. I'm one of the account managers over here at Your Overseas Home. Thank you all very much for joining us from wherever you are in the world. It's great to have you all here with us. Today, we're going to be chatting with Danny Cook from Smart Currency Exchange. I've worked with Danny for a number of years, and I know Your Overseas Home and Smart Currency have been working with each other longer than Danny and I have been in the business. So it's great to have him here with us. And Danny, thank you for joining us again. I know you've done a couple of these over the years. We're going to be talking about your currency exchange requirements when buying a property overseas, with focus on Trump's policies and what you can do to protect your budget when you're looking to purchase overseas. It is a part of the journey that a lot of people overlook, but a very, very important part, as we'll go into detail over the course of this session. The way that we'll run it, we'll do a quick introduction to Danny, and then I'll go through to the next part of the webinar. So Danny, thanks again for being here. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick introduction to yourself and Smart Currency Exchange, and then pass back over to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Seb. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danny Cook. I'm here representing Smart Currency Exchange. We're going to do a 15-minute presentation from myself first, going over Trump's policies and what you can do to protect your property budget when buying overseas. And then, as Seb mentioned, the last 50 minutes, we'll do a Q&A. So, yeah, back to you, Seb, and then we can kick off.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Danny. So yeah, as Danny mentioned, we will do a bit of a presentation that Danny's prepared. Throughout the whole session, you'll have the opportunity to ask Danny questions around your requirements, or any generic questions you have around the currency aspect of buying overseas. At the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you should see a questions tab. Please feel free to just click on that tab, type in any questions that you have, but also if you want to test it now, or maybe just tell us where in the world you're looking to purchase, so we can all get nice and jealous reading your responses. We've got about 30 minutes, as Danny mentioned, so I don't want to spend too much time me talking. I'd rather get straight into it, so we have more time for questions at the end. Danny, I'll pass back across to you, please, and we can get into the presentation.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks again, Seb. So yeah, first slide really is in relation to the Trump currency casinos. So it's a very simple question to kick off the presentation. It's, would you walk into a casino with £25,000 or dollars of your savings and put it on red or black? Don't know, there might be a few gamblers watching, but I know what my response would be to that question. But the reality is, when you're buying a property overseas for, upwards of, say, €250,000, your currency risk is of a value of £25,000. That's how much exchange rates can fluctuate in the period between offer acceptance and completion that you can be looking at when you're buying a property overseas. So the reason why this risk occurs is because exchange rates are constantly fluctuating on a daily basis. So the currency markets are the most frequently traded market on the planet. You've got an estimated $8 trillion being transacted daily, be that institutional, deliverable, or speculative. The markets are moving 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. They fluctuate anywhere between 0.5% and 2% on any given day. The reason for this is due to a myriad of factors, direct and indirect economic and political factors. People often attribute, interest rate decisions to be the main mover exchange rates, but the reality is there's a multitude of reasons that exchange rates can move. Market sentiment also plays a huge role, and they are highly unpredictable, even more so in times of turmoil, as we're actually seeing currently. So the key influences we've seen on markets so far in 2025, earlier in the year we had Trump's tariff changes. Now this is still an ongoing event, I would say, but we've seen massive massive fluctuations off the back of these. Trump now as well involved in the Iran-Israel conflict. So, US involvement there is still having an impact on the markets. We're seeing quite a bit of investor sentiment towards the euro as a safe haven currency at the moment, which is causing a lot of movement in pound to euro markets as well as dollar euro markets. So that's something to really, keep your eye on over the next coming weeks and months, is that conflict and how it affects markets. Other than this, interest rates are still very high in the UK, 4.25%. We've got other conflicts ongoing in the world, the Ukraine war, Gaza conflict, any, American or European involvement in these conflicts, again, it's going to have an impact on exchange rates and what they're doing. Aside from these sort of major political events, we've got economic data releases that are happening on an ongoing basis. These are more kind of scheduled in. You've got GDP, CPI data, unemployment figures that always again have a massive impact on how people are reading the markets and how they're again going to have a massive effect on what the markets are doing basically. So an example here of the sterling euro market so far this year. You can see there we've got the date set up from 1st of January to a couple of days ago. So far this year, we've got a 7% difference between the highest and lowest rates. Now, if you think even on 100 grand property, that's £7,000. So it's certainly not a small sum of money. Obviously, this risk is going to be exacerbated the more you're transferring. So you can see there, topped out about 121 sort of February time. Again, a massive drop off the back of Trump's tariff decisions to being sort of just above 114 April time. We've recovered now to being just above 117 on the interbank market. So yeah, a lot of fluctuations that we're seeing between the pound and the euro, as I say, at the moment. It's taken a slight dip over the last few days off the back of the Israel-Iran news, as there's more investor sentiment turning towards the euros, more of a safe haven currency, which has given the euro more strength in recent days as well. Turning across to dollar euro, again, you can see here that the strength is really behind the euro at the moment. Again, Trump's work on the tariffs hasn't been received with a great deal of positivity in the markets for the dollar. So you can see they're quite a big drop off from about 0.975 to now sort of just above 0.85 again on the interbank market. So again, a really substantial drop off there that we've seen recently for the euro against the dollar, and again just attests to that high amount of volatility that we do see in these uncertain times. And again, when you've got a large transaction coming up in the near future, that this will affect you quite substantially from a financial perspective. So it's important to really be aware of how much these movements in the currency markets will affect your finances when you're purchasing a property overseas. So how does the currency risk actually arise when you're purchasing an overseas property? So in the early stages, it's maybe not something you'll be directly affected by, but it's certainly something you want to be aware of in the research stage, because ultimately it's going to really affect your budgeting process. So obviously you've got the research and then the viewing trip stages, which are, those early sort of stages when you're looking for a property. The risk really arises when you get to that period between offer accepting and completion. So you've got the offer accepted and then the sales process, dealing with the lawyers and the counterparty and whatnot. That all takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. And then the completion stage, which will be anywhere between 3 to 9 months, really. It depends what kind of property you're buying. A lot of people end up buying off plan, where the purchase period is a lot longer. So that's where this risk really arises. So we've got some numbers written down here as an example. So you could be at an offer accepted stage whereby your offer's been accepted at 250,000 euros, which, using sterling as an example, that could be 210,000 pounds based off the current exchange rate at that time. Come completion date, your euro price is of course still going to be fixed in. That's not going to change, but due to the exchange rate fluctuations, your purchase cost could have increased to 235,000 pounds just off the back of changes in the exchange rate. So this is the reality of what you're of the risk that you're facing when you're buying an overseas property. You have absolutely no idea what the exchange rate is going to do in that period between offer accept and completion. It's something that's totally out of your control, basically. So what can you actually do about currency risk? So I'd say our most popular way to mitigate against this risk is by utilizing a forward contract. So this allows you to agree an exchange rate today for delivery in the future. Therefore, meaning you can agree the sterling or US dollar price of your 250,000 euro property at the point when your offer is accepted or shortly after. This will then not move between the time your accepted offer and completion date occurs, irrespective of the volatile currency markets. It removes any gambling aspect of buying a property overseas. It gives you absolute certainty around your costs and allows you to focus on, again, on that property purchase process, which is a very complex process in and of itself. So, often the last thing you want to be worrying about is checking the currency market every second of every day and wondering what it's doing. Again, the markets will often move quicker than you can react to, and that can make what should be an enjoyable process of buying overseas quite stressful, particularly when you start to see things moving in the direction you don't want them to. And, you're just looking at extra thousands of pounds costs on the property for something that could be avoided. So again, some scenario setting here. So this is applying real life rates that we've seen this year for sterling euro as an example. So in February, Debbie and Richard, found their dream villa for 300,000 euros on the Costa Blanca. They pay a small reservation deposit. At that stage, the cost of the property was £247,933. April completion day is quite a quick turnover, a couple months from offer acceptance completion for Debbie and Richard. Completion day arrived and their balance was due. They decided to not use a forward contract and just sort of gamble a bit with the market, see how it went. But unfortunately, the markets had moved against them in that time, and their cost increased to 263,157 in sterling. So in not deciding to lock in, they obviously had no idea what the rate was going to be on the day to completion, and ultimately the property cost them an extra 15 grand or so. Why would you take that gamble? It's a lot of money to gamble on something that's totally out of your control. That'd be the question there.
Danny, just mind just going back to the previous slide. We've also got a question around forward contract. One question I had is in regards to Richard and Debbie is, they found a property when they went across the Costa Blanca, and then they start to think about the currency. But from your perspective, when is a good time to start having a conversation around currency exchange and this part of the process? When normally would you advise one to have that initial conversation?
Yeah, I think it goes back to this. I always said in the research phase, you want to start having these conversations and getting your contacts in place, because you kind of go through a process with us where you need to open an account that we have to do to abide by FCA regulations. So it's good to get that in place beforehand. Just get your account manager contact in place. You'll have a welcome call with your account manager who will really just fully understand your requirements, your attitude to currency risk as well is important to understand, and then develop a plan moving forwards for you. So I'd say in that research phase that you're in is a good time to get that contact established.
How many months before that? I know some of our listeners maybe 6 months, 12 months, even over a year away from potentially looking to purchase. When is too early or when's too late to have that research part of the process started?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd say it's never too early, really. I've spoken to people, 6 to 12 months before a purchase, who just want to get a full understanding of the process and their options, which is absolutely, no problem. We often get in touch with people very early, and then, we try and establish that contact with them throughout that research and viewing trip phase, so that, everything's perfectly clear and set up to go if and when you get to that point of offer accepted. It's often a bit more difficult to actually explain these kind of things and relate it to an individual's plans if we're just sort of scrambling around at the point of offer accepted to try and explain it all. So it's a lot better to have those conversations as early as possible, really.
Yeah, definitely. I've been working with your overseas home for a number of years now. I think the common view is leave currency to the time that I actually need it, and I find a property, and there is that risk that you then are left at the whim of the markets when you need to purchase your euros to facilitate that deposit or that property purchase. The hardest part of the buying journey, from my understanding, from the discussions I've had with clients who've purchased, is actually finding that dream property. And then once you find that property, things can move relatively quickly, especially that initial deposit. And then there is that risk that you say you're left at the whim of that market at that time. So I think what you mentioned there, Danny, is really important. Have the conversation early, understand what your role is and how you can protect your budget while you're searching, because as you said in the previous slide, your budget will be moving as you're searching for properties. So it's important for you to understand that as well. Danny, we've got a question here from Katie around the forward contract. So Katie asked, is there an upper or lower limit to the amount you can fix through a forward contract? So do you mind just giving us a bit more of an idea about how much the forward contracts you need to put down in regards to maximum and minimum, but also how long those forward contracts potentially can last?
Yeah, no, so there's no. I'm not sure if that means upper or lower limit in terms of time frame or amount. If I think she said amount, so yeah, in terms of amount, yeah, there's no limit. You might even find people who want to fix sort of half their budget. That does happen as well, and then leave the rest of it to gamble in the markets. Again, not everyone is fully risk averse. We do understand that, but yeah, so there's no sort of limit to the amount. In terms of time frame, you can lock a rate in for any time up to 2 years as well. So that's something to bear in mind if you are sort of looking to very much, preeminently hedge your risk. Then that's something you can do as well for a long period of time. But yeah, there's no sort of upper or lower limit in terms of amounts really. Obviously, with a very small amount, like £10,000, there's not a huge amount of risk there. So I don't see a lot of people looking forwards for that. But you do also get people who would fix a forward for their living cost payments and have them paid out regularly in terms of fixed amounts for those. So it's a slightly different thing. But yeah, there's no real limits basically.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So just when you mentioned their regular payments, I presume that's what pension transfers on a monthly basis or payments for mortgages and things like that is something that they can
Yeah.
lock in a rate for over the course of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a similar premise with those, which I think there was probably a slide about towards the end. But yeah, we can we can
Jump the
also
gun.
fix no, yeah, we can also fix the rate for those as well. So a lot of people do that. After they've bought the property, they'll have their yeah, as you mentioned, pension, mortgage payments, things like that fixed in as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Katie, for your question, and yeah, thanks, Danny, for the answer. Very clear. I'll pass back over to you. Sorry to jump in.
No worries. Let me just remember where I was here. I think we just done that one, hadn't we? So
Yeah.
yeah, so so the five main reasons we would say to use a foreign exchange specialist for your overseas property purchase, compared to say like a bank or the medium people often think they can use for a large transaction. First reason is really to understand currency risk. So again, the time between offer acceptance and completion of overseas property represents a massive risk. So we and your account manager, who you'd be assigned to, would help you understand that risk in correlation to your budget and help you make a informed decision on how to handle it. Agree your currency plan. So it is important again to have a conversation with your account manager, get an idea into your head as to what your currency plan is going to look like. So yeah, again, ensuring you have that trusted expert who's dealt with thousands of property transactions in the past to help you understand your budget in both the currencies that you're working with, and agree that plan and execute it. Yeah, so once you find that dream property, we can just execute that for you, and then you can focus on the rest of the purchase process, which, as I mentioned a couple of times, is quite complex in and of itself. Forward contract. So yeah, again, something banks don't do. You can lock in an exchange rate for delivery in the future and remove currency risk. So as a personal customer, your high street bank wouldn't do this for you. And again, as we were touching on there, on ongoing transfers. So we're here to help you for the lifetime of your overseas property ownership, living costs, renovations, other fees. We're here to help with all of that. And again, there's different options available for those. We have an online portal and an app that a lot of people use for those payments as well. And then we've got regular payment plans, RPP. So if you're sending the same amount every month for your mortgage, pension transfer, or regular top up, we can have that all automated. And again, that can be either on a fixed rate basis or a flexi rate basis. If you don't mind, having a different euro amount at the other end each month, we can just have it flexi so that the amount in euros will fluctuate based on where the market moves.
Just on that, I know you mentioned the high street banks. I know a lot of people are aware that you can exchange currency through your high street bank and send it across, and people believe that perhaps is the easiest way or safest way or the most cost efficient way to do a currency exchange, a large currency exchange. Do you mind just sort of highlighting what the difference or what smart or what currency broker offers in comparison to a high street bank for everyone listening?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I'd say the big one is, of course, going to be on price. So with a high street bank, you'll be offered a tourist exchange rate that's going to be quite far away from where the actual mid-market rate is transacting. We as a business will get you a commercial exchange rate that will be sort of in the middle. It will be closer to where the actual market's transacting. So that can save you quite a bit of money when you're doing a very large transfer. And there also won't be any additional fees that we would charge you for the transaction. So a high street bank will often charge additional international fees that can stack up, particularly on a large transfer. So we wouldn't charge you any of those. So again, that should save you money there. And then, another big one is on that service element. So you get a really premium bespoke service with us in the form of an account manager. You can call, any moment of the day to find out what's going on with your transfer, just get an update on, your plans. You do get that real premium sort of white glove service with us that banks simply, again, won't offer. They will do the transaction for you, but it'll be very, very transactional. You just have to go there. They will exchange a currency for you, but you're not going to get a very high level of service. If you ever have to call them afterwards to find out what's going on, you might be stuck on hold, speaking to a robot or whatever. So a lot of people, really like the fact that you get that personal service with us as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of the feedback that I think we had last week from a client that we introduced to Smart for their currency exchange. I think they were speaking with their bank or were going to use their bank, and they fed back to us, the guidance that they got from Smart around options, forward contracts, regular payment plans. They just didn't get offered at their bank, but also guidance around where the market is in historical terms, but also the last 6 months. And I think it is really important to highlight this is what Smart Currency do. You specialize in helping people with property purchases, whereas I think banks, it is really transactional from what I've been told and what I've heard. So yeah, I think it's really important just to highlight for everyone listening in, if you are looking to exchange large sums of currency, please just do not use your bank at all costs, because it will cost you more and you won't be given that guidance piece as well. Yeah, Danny, sorry, back over to you.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with everything you said there as well. So yeah, the process in brief, really, as we touched, and speak to us as early as possible. Really, get some understanding around your budget and agree your currency plan moving forwards. Finding your dream property then is of course a big step. Going on viewing trips. Once you have that offer accepted, it's then just a case of executing the plan, securing your exchange rate for that purchase, and then you can come to completion day in a stress-free mindset and enjoy your new home. So this is just a bit about us. So yeah, we are the trusted voice for high-value international payments. We do specialize in property transactions. We have done for 20 plus years now. Established in 2004, we've transferred over £12 billion overseas in that space of time. Helped with over 45,000 clients with exactly this type of transaction. Over 600,000 transactions managed. We are rated excellent on Trustpilot. So, don't just take it from myself. To head over there and have a read of some of the reviews that we get on a regular basis about the service for people who are doing this kind of thing. And we are a UK-based team with our head office in London, and we do have offices in Spain as well. But yeah, head offices are London-based. And yeah, do come and speak to us. There's a QR code there that you can scan. Our email address is there, our website. Any questions, or if you want to reach out, please just drop us a line there or get in touch, and you'll get put in touch with someone very quickly who can help you with your plans.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Danny. So yeah, I'm still learning bits and pieces. I've done a couple of these in the past and still learning more and more about this part of the process. And as I said at the beginning, I think it's really important and a part of the process that probably gets overlooked. But there is massive risk in there, which I know you've highlighted really clearly. So thank you, Danny, for sharing. We've got a few questions here. We've got a bit of 5 or 6 minutes to answer as many of them as possible. And thank you all for putting your questions in the chat function. So the first question is actually from Shannon, or should I say the second question is from Shannon. Shannon asks, what is the actual process in speaking to someone early? I know throughout the presentation you said research, planning, but what are the first steps if someone was to scan that QR code? What happens from that point onwards, Danny?
Yes, you'd firstly be put in touch with probably a member of our onboarding team, who would just have a conversation with you on the phone about your requirement, understand exactly what it is you're looking to do, give you a little rundown of the service. Next stage is opening a free non-committal account. So again, a very quick process, doesn't cost anything, doesn't commit you to ever doing a trade with us or anything like that. Open the account will then get you through to one of the account managers like myself, who Again, we'll have probably slightly more in-depth conversation with you about your requirement, outline a few of the options that we have in terms of how we can help you with the currency exchange process, and then they will then probably be staying in regular contact with you, with a series of phone call appointments to again make sure that things are getting executed at the right time with regards to your currency needs. So yeah, I suppose that's the process in a nutshell.
But I know you mentioned there, there's no obligation to use smart, and buying a property overseas is a big undertaking. It can take a long time, but also plans may be delayed or plans may potentially be cancelled. Hopefully not, but you never know. Things do happen, and the property plans may fall short. If that is the case, and someone does have a smart currencies account, I presume that means no obligation. They don't have to exchange or anything along those lines with you. Is that the case?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's not non-committal. Things do fall through. We understand that can happen. The account always sort of stays there in case, again, plans can fall through and then get picked back up. It is quite a big project buying a property overseas, so we are very much used to long periods of time between sort of account opening and you ever having to book a transaction. So we understand that process takes a long time, and sometimes might not even ever materialize. So yeah, as you say, it's no commitment, but the account will stay there for you for use when it's hopefully needed at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I know one of the great things that Smart offer is a sort of a weekly currency update on market movements, which are really useful just for you if you are looking to exchange currency, to be in the know of what the currency markets are doing fairly consistently. Or as Danny said, you can just call up, have a quick conversation with your account manager, and they can just update you on what's happening. I find them very useful for myself just to understand what is happening, because it is a minefield, and there's always these big events that happen more frequently than they should that are impacting the markets, as we saw earlier. We've got a question here, Danny, from Jutta. And Jutta says, can we send money in advance to be managed by you until the purchase is complete, about 1 year's time? So are you able to receive money in advance for a potential purchase and then deposit that at a later date?
Yeah, we can theoretically. A lot of people do, sort of preload their account with funds to then be exchanged, as and when they're wanting them to, basically. So yeah, that's certainly something you can do as well. I've had clients where they want to sort of pre-book their reservation deposit or something along those lines, and then have the euros ready there to go when they do eventually go on a trip and find the property. So yeah, that is something you can do.
Yeah, but I suppose it goes back to forward contracts. That could be a good option because instead of sending the whole lump sum to Smart to hold until you're ready, you could. Was there a deposit, Danny, for forward contract of a certain percentage that's needed? Is that correct?
Yeah. So with a forward contract, it's generally we buy the euros in full for you to fix your rate on the forward. You'd send generally 5% of the sterling or the dollar amount within 3 working days of that being done, and then the final 95% any time on or before a date in the future. So that's all the mechanics involved in that. So yeah, you could either pre-book a forward contract in full, or as I mentioned there, if you were just preloading some of it for your reservation deposit, you can do that as well. So this is where having that conversation with your account manager is going to be the most important to actually decide what's the best approach for you, because again, everyone's going to be slightly different in terms of how they want to approach it and whatnot.
Yeah, no, 100%. Everyone's plans are unique, is what I've learned over the years of buying property, and everyone has their own requirements, plans, risk appetite, as you mentioned as well. But yeah, thank you, Jutta, for the question. One of the questions I have as well, it kind of goes back to, I suppose, the common misconception that banks are the best way of transferring funds is around security of funds in that transfer. We're potentially talking about people's life savings or very large sums of currency, Danny, that are moving cross borders. A big part of that, of our list, I'm sure, is around security and how those funds are protected and secure throughout that process. How do smart currencies secure funds, or how does that payment actually go through from let's say I'm the potential property buyer, to you, to the actual final destination? What does that look like, and how are they secure? Ooh, Phil,
Oh, sorry, I
you there,
think.
Danny?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear. I think you just dropped off for a second. Did you
Yeah,
manage
just
to get my
dropped for a bit.
question?
I think that was mine. I think I got the start of it. Was it about security and whatnot?
Security of funds, but also, I suppose, how does the process work from a client sending you funds to actually the depositing
Yeah.
them at the end destination?
Yeah, got you. Yeah, so I'd say security is, the main sort of worry that a lot of people have when they first interact with us. So it is perfectly reasonable as well, of course, given the amounts of money involved. But basically, we're fully authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority. So what that entails in the main is the use of segregated client accounts that are totally separate from our operating accounts. So that basically means that at all times, that the client's funds remain fully ring fenced and insured with the Financial Conduct Authority when doing a transaction with us. So that essentially means, when you book a transaction, the details you get through on the receipt are of those segregated client account details. So that's where you'd be sending the funds. That the funds would never touch our operating accounts or anything like that. So it basically means that you're fully insured in the event of anything happening to us, which of course, obviously we're very confident it won't do. We have been around over 20 years now. We do have some of the strongest books in the industry in terms of capital in the bank and cash at hand as well, which you can see on Companies House. So it's confident from that perspective. It's important to, obviously do your own due diligence around a company when you're talking about a large financial transfer. But yeah, that's the reason that, you are clients are protected when utilizing our service for these kind of transactions.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. I think I can appreciate it's probably one of the most important concerns that people may have when exchanging currency is the security of their funds. And as I said at the beginning, I know your overseas home and Smart Currency have been working with each other for I think nearly 18 years now. And as you can see on the screen, the Trustpilot reviews there. Have a look at them. That 5-star Trustpilot score is very well deserved, and the service that I know Smart offer is really top level. So really important part, and thanks for giving a bit of clarity on that, Danny. Now I know we've got more questions in there. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but for everyone listening, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's not the most glamorous part of buying a property overseas. I know there's a lot of potential impacts to the market at the moment, with Trump's tariffs, all the conflict that's going on in the world. But this is really important. You've worked hard, I'm sure, for all of your dreams to own a property overseas. Don't let currency markets nib away or dash that dream property away from you. Do plan as early as possible, as Danny said. We will pass all of your details across to Danny and Smart. But if you want to be proactive and have that conversation, please do scan the QR code on the screen. Have a conversation with Danny or member of the team. They are really helpful, and they won't bite at all. But Danny, thanks to you again for being here. Really appreciate your time, knowledge, and experience. So yeah, it's great to have you here with us. For everyone listening in as well, we do have a lot of other resources available on our website. We also have a virtual event happening on the 4th of October, where Smart Currency will be there. At that event, you can also meet estate agents, lawyers, mortgage brokers, the whole shebang of services that you need if you're looking to buy a property overseas in Europe. It's free to register, as this webinar was. Please join us there on October the 4th, ask questions and connect with the relevant experts. And finally, in order to take any more of your time on a sunny afternoon here in the UK, if you found this useful, we really appreciate you leaving us a nice review on Trustpilot. If you just click on, there should be a link on the screen here. If you click on that and just leave us a review, it'd be much appreciated. And anything we can do, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'll be more than happy to assist, and best of luck with those property strategies. Danny, once again, thanks to you, and we'll speak soon.
All right, thanks all.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.